on to the discussion, if you wish. Mr. Deere, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I want to thank all the comments that we've heard today, and the strong support that we're hearing for enhanced participation of Indigenous peoples, and we look forward to your participation in the workshop in November. I'd like to respond to one state rep mentioned that not to politicize this issue. This is the United Nations. Everything is political in the United Nations. Its very existence is a political necessity. My elders once told me, he says, when you're born indigenous, you're born political. And what he went to say is that because our very birth is a political statement, because we're not supposed to be here. States have done everything they can to eliminate us, so that there will never be indigenous peoples anymore, and there will only be states or state citizens, and no more indigenous people, because we're annoying. So we have to raise our children that way, understanding that our existence is a political statement, that the Creator put us here for a purpose, that we were here before the invaders came, and that we have a role in creation to make sure that we as we said earlier with the president of the Human Rights Council, that we have a role in keeping the garden that the Creator has given to us, and to make that garden sustainable for all of human life. That we have a duty and a responsibility to speak for the natural world. When indigenous people came here in 1977, the question they asked here was, who speaks for the animals? Who speaks for the birds? Who speaks for the water? Who speaks for the air? Who speaks for the trees? Who is speaking for the natural world? And they couldn't find anybody here at the United Nations that was doing that. Indigenous people say that because we still live so close to the natural world, that we have to be the voice of the natural world. States do not speak for the natural world. The denial of Tezcaje from speaking at the League of Nations 99 years ago was a political act, and it's continuing and denying the Haudenosaunee to apply to the League of Nations with a political act, and the continuing to deny people the voice in the United Nations is a political act. So everything here is political, and states cannot say or should not say that they speak for indigenous peoples. Indigenous peoples speak for themselves, as they have been doing from time immemorial. No state can speak for everybody within their borders. Indigenous peoples have a right to speak for itself. They have the right to free, prior, informed consent. If the indigenous people want to give their voice to the state, then they will do that. But mostly, indigenous peoples will speak for themselves. The right to free, prior, informed consent to all issues that affect them is a right of democracy. The fundamental part of democracy is to have free, prior, informed consent of issues that affect them. It is a democratic process for indigenous peoples to speak for themselves. And this is what we're fighting for. There's a democratic process for indigenous peoples to have their own voice. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deere, for that statement.